Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from True Off My Chest. Our first post is by Aline K. My boyfriend's ex asked him if they could get back together. I'm F35, together with this amazing guy, M33, for 2 years now. We live together and have a really good relationship, very loving and caring, and I trust him completely. But he had a very long relationship before me that ended very painfully with her cheating on him and breaking his heart. When I met him, he was still recovering from it. It had ended 2 years before at that time, and when I told him I loved him, after maybe 6 months together, he told me that he couldn't feel the same for me yet because he was still hurting from his ex. It took him some time, but after some vacation days in his hometown, he came back saying that he loved me and that he wanted to focus on us and on being happy. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, we are living together and things are so great, but for some days he seems a bit distant and pensive, and said that needed some time alone to make some calls to friends and family, so asked if I was going out with my friends anytime that week. Some weeks later he says he needs to talk, and told me that she reached out. She was always, as they kept contact even after all that happened. But this time was not just a "how are things," but an actual plea for him to get back to her. She said that she had some relationships after the breakup, but she always thought that she threw the best one away and wanted to get together again. He told me that he said no, and was pensive because wasn't sure on how to tell me because he was afraid I would get sad and jealous. I feel jealous of her, and he knows that, because she is younger and much more prettier than me, and because he loved her so much that I think he would never love me the same. Anyway, I am happy he told me. I learned later that the calls he made were to a couple of friends of his to get advice on how to tell me, and they all say that he should just be honest. I'm glad he did so, and I trust him completely, but I cannot shake the feeling that she is a menace and that she will continue trying to get him back, and since their love was so huge, he might be rethinking his relationship with me. It's awful. And to make matters worse, we have a friend in common wedding in a few months, and I will end up meeting her. Of course I'll be civilized and on my best behavior. I am an adult, but I'm worried how insecure this is going to make me feel, all the comparisons I'll make, and how inadequate to my partner I will feel. Anyway, I needed to say this aloud, or in this case, write it down. I feel crazy and stupid for overthinking it all, but at the same time feel that it is not that unreasonable. Edit. Thank you all that took some minutes to read and give me advice. I'm so grateful for all the kind words, encouragement and validation. I will talk to him, and I trust he's going to listen and understand my point. He's the sweetest man I've met, and that also makes sense on how she could play him so easily. He's too kind. And he's really invested on our relationship, so I am sure it will be a good and constructive discussion. And for the wedding, I'll put on a cute outfit and feel pretty and confident so I'm not comparing myself. And I hope I can see her for who she really is, just a person, and a very bad one, and not this mythical goodness-like creature I created in my mind. Our next post is by Informal Arugula. Need advice. My husband forbids me from getting a breast reduction, but I'm conflicted. This is a throwaway. Hey fellow Redditors, I've been grappling with a dilemma lately, and I could really use your advice and perspective on the matter. Here's the situation. I'm a 40-year-old woman who has been married to my husband, M51, for 12 years now. We love each other and he is great, loving, considerate, and protective. I feel safe with him. I've been seriously considering getting a breast reduction, but here's the twist. My husband has outright forbidden me from doing so. Now let me make it clear that I understand we're not living in the 1950s, and I am a grown adult capable of making my own decisions. But here's where things get complicated. I respect my husband's feelings and opinions, and going against his wishes doesn't sit right with me. It's not about him being in charge or anything like that, but rather a desire to consider his perspective and feelings as part of our partnership. His reasoning for objecting to the breast reduction is that he loves my breasts just the way they are. He thinks they're beautiful, and he doesn't want them smaller, and believes that I'm struggling with a twisted body image and body dysmorphia. According to him, it's my mental health that needs attention, not my body. He's genuinely concerned that I'm spiraling into self-hatred and believes I should work on accepting myself rather than seeking surgical alterations. However, I've carefully considered this decision and consulted with medical professionals. I believe that a breast reduction will not only improve my physical well-being, but also boost my self-esteem. I haven't thought about other cosmetic surgeries, and this is the only alteration I genuinely desire. I'm torn between respecting my husband's concerns and prioritizing my own happiness and well-being. I love and value our relationship, but I also want to feel comfortable and confident in my own skin. How can I navigate this delicate situation? Has anyone else experienced a similar conflict with their partner? Any advice or personal stories would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance. Next up, posted by Salty Cookies. I thought my family was poor. It turns out we had parasite problem. Growing up, my parents never afford family vacations, birthday parties, sports, hobbies, or anything that was not a basic primary. My mom used to yell at us all the time and always complained about money. She was a stay-at-home mom, while dad worked long hours. My siblings and I rarely asked for things, and I always thought that we were so poor. I didn't realize that my extended family were financially dependent on my dad. A lot. My dad paid for 9 of my cousins' schooling because their parents never had a stable job their whole lives. Mom has 7 siblings, and only one uncle lives a normal life. He smartly moved far away at young age and rarely visits. These people keep coming to ask my mom for money, and she always give it to them. At least 3 of them had drinking and/or drug problems. Dad also paid the bills and mortgage of my grandparents, my mom's parents, because they depend on their children to support them. Well, their children cannot even support themselves, so my dad had to step in. One single income for dozens of people for decades. Half of these cousins didn't even finish high school due to delinquency, teen pregnancies, or just being too lazy to go to school. They got expelled. When I looked at my childhood, I can't help but feel bitter. I remember our second-hand, mismatched furniture in our old house, or how I feel jealous when my friends told stories about their family vacations, or how I spent hours reading books in a bookstore without paying. My dad died 10 years ago, and it only took a few weeks until 2 aunts and a cousin reached out to me asking for money. I ignored them. They knew that I won't hesitate to tear them a new one if they push, so they leave me alone. A few days ago, my mom said that she regrets allowing her family to take advantage of my dad for so long. She says how she never went on a date with my dad because all the extra money goes to her family. I told her that I never want to deal with them, ever. I didn't say how bitter I was growing up, still am, or how it affected heavily in our own lives and mental health. I didn't say how I blamed her for not standing up for her own husband and giving us a better life. I also wanted to scream of how could you do that to your own family. Now I'm in my 40s, and I spend my money for traveling, hobbies, books, and therapist. Edit. First, I want to apologize for so many typos and grammatical errors. English is so hard for me. Second, I should have made it clear in the post that I never blame my dad for working so hard. I did resent my mom, but I'm old enough now to understand her position and able to see things differently. My aunts and uncles often guilted my mom with sob stories to give them money. They always came during daytime when dad was at work to corner mom alone until she felt bad and relented. Then my mom will get frustrated because we barely had savings and she never had fun in years because it was a luxury she can't afford, so she lashed out on her children. A few weeks later, another aunt and uncle came with another sob stories. Although I do have several mental issues from my childhood, I have learned to overcome it with lots of therapies, but it takes time. Right now, those relatives do not bother us anymore. My mom never asked money from her children. Instead, my siblings and I tried to provide mom with things that she never experienced before, like family outing with grandchildren, traveling with her friends, eating out, shopping, etc. I also put up a Netflix account for her so she can watch as much K-drama as she wants. We did this because our late dad would want us to care for her. Our final post is by Competitive Craft. My 18F boyfriend, 18M, wants to break up before we go to college, but I'm confused. Unfortunately, my situation is basically just like the title says. My boyfriend, 18M, and I, 18F, have been together for 2 years. He was my first boyfriend, and I love him so much. We never argue, and we have the same views on pretty much everything. We always planned on going to the same college, but he is an athlete and got a full-ride scholarship to play football. And to make matters worse, it is an out-of-state university. Of course, I was very happy for him, and I'm still excited for him. I didn't think this would be an issue until he sat me down yesterday and said he thought we should break up. He basically told me that he is fine hanging out the entire summer, but he thinks we should break up for college. And he said that maybe after we graduate college we will find our way back to each other. I started crying and asked him why we can't just do long distance. He doesn't even have a good reason, but he is standing firm on his decision. He basically told me that we could break up right now or at the end of the summer right before college. I just went home at that point because I needed time to think. I'm devastated. I don't know what to do at this point. I love him, and I don't understand why we can't just try long distance. Since we love each other, we can at least try before just throwing away 2 years. And why do we have to find our way back to each other instead of fighting for our current relationship? I'm so sad and confused right now. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.